Hey guys, today I wanted to do a get ready with me using all of my oldest makeup. So I went through my makeup inventory and found the oldest product from every category, and we're gonna do a full face using all of these products today. This video was very much inspired by Hot Mess Tom. I saw them do a video using their oldest products like this a few weeks ago, and I thought it was so much fun that I wanted to do my own version, but I will link their video down below. If you are not following Tom, you definitely should. I will link their channel and video below, but they do a lot of great content about just using what you have and shopping with intention. So I think if you enjoy my channel, you'll definitely enjoy Tom's. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm so excited. Now, some of my oldest products, funnily enough, are not even that old. Like some of my oldest products are even as new as 2022, but then I have some things that I have had since like 2017. So quite a range, but overall, I feel like my collection doesn't skew too terribly old. But let's go ahead and get started with primer. So my oldest primer is the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Dew Primer. This one I bought in October 2021, so it's only about a year and a half old. I like to think of my products as if they're like little children and they each have an age. Also, it is actually hot today. Like, I forgot how hard it is to film when it's hot outside, and having my lights, because I get hot filming even in the winter with my lights on, but it's 75 degrees outside, which is amazing. Like, it is beautiful out there, but I'm already sweating. So e.l.f. Jelly Pop Dew Primer. I really like this primer. This is no longer sold, but it's actually one of the few primers I've ever tried that I feel like really does something, and I do feel like it's worth the extra step. I don't wear primer every day, but I really like it because it grips onto makeup really well, so it keeps my makeup in place, and I feel like it also kind of smooths out my skin. Now, I have found that the key with this primer is to wait at least 10 minutes after applying it before I go in with my foundation, because I do feel like I need to give this primer a chance to set. Otherwise, sometimes my makeup can pill a little bit on top of it. So if I ever am short on time, I definitely skip this step because I don't want to have to wait for 10 extra minutes before I go in with my makeup, but I also just really like that glass skin glow that it gives. Really pretty. Also, I have a lovely friend here on my cheek. That's one of the worst zits I've gotten in a while, but it's like really painful. It's way in there. I don't know what caused that, but sometimes my skin just breaks out for no reason. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes since I applied that primer, and now I'm ready to move on to foundation. So my oldest foundation is this guy right here. This is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Hydromaniac. I am currently trying to pan this. I haven't been making a ton of progress on it this month, just because I've been using my ColourPop Pretty Fresh foundation so much, but I would like to use this up this year because it's getting pretty old. I got this in December 2020, so going on 3 years. I feel like that's, you know, usually about the time I like to try to finish up foundations. But also, this tube, even though it's the same size as every other foundation tube, it's just never ending. I feel like it's like the Mary Poppins bag of foundations. But let's use this today. I do feel like with this foundation, less is more. Like, if I apply too much of this, it can look a little makeup-y. Even though it's a nice light coverage foundation, it still has some pigment to it. So also, I really need to get a new sponge. Look at this EcoTool sponge. I washed it today and it got this huge gash in it. But I do really like this foundation. It's a great dewy option. It is definitely very dewy, so if you don't like that, then this would not be the foundation for you, but this used to be like my top favorite. It's definitely not anymore, just because I feel like there are more affordable options that are just as good, if not better. So that gives you a good idea of the coverage, at least blended with a sponge. You can definitely still see this breakout. But I am going to build up just a little bit more to show you just how much coverage you can build up. So that's how that looks built up with a second layer on the cheeks. I would say I was able to build it up to like medium coverage. I'm actually really liking the way this looks on my skin right now. I feel like it especially is looking even better than usual with this primer underneath. The whole thing just looks even more smooth. Sometimes I do feel like this foundation can look a little bit textured, so that's why it's not my favorite anymore, but I'm glad I tried this combo. I don't know if I've ever done this combo before. Normally, I don't put anything super dewy underneath this foundation, but I actually feel like these two seem to be working really well together. Like, look at that glow. That is pretty. So my oldest concealer is actually not old at all. I've only had this one for a year, but this is my current oldest concealer. It's the LA Girl Pro Conceal, and I got this in April of 2022, so just a year ago. Feels like way longer that I've had this, but also, if my eyes look more red than usual today, it's because of the pollen. The pollen count has been so high the past few days that I almost don't even want to go outside because, like, even though the weather is so nice, every time I go outside, I just feel it in my head. Like, my nose just starts running incessantly. And I don't know, like, my head just feels really foggy. Yesterday, we went to Golden Gardens, which is a beach nearby, and it was so nice being out there, but then the whole rest of the day, I was so, like, my brain just felt so foggy, and I felt so fatigued. And I think it was because of the pollen. I don't know, I used to not, like, pollen used to not affect me. I used to not really have seasonal allergies when I was younger, but I feel like the older I get, every year, I notice allergies affecting me more and more. So there's that concealer. Actually, pretty good coverage. Just a bit too light for my under eyes, so I do like to tap a little bit of my Sigma color corrector on top just to like even out the shade a little bit. I do feel like this LA Girl concealer can be kind of dry looking. Like, I definitely wouldn't recommend it if you have really dry under eyes. This combo right here is really the only way I like to use this concealer. I really don't like it on its own, but I'm glad I found that way of using it because I actually do really like that look. My oldest bronzer or contour is the Oma Beauty Double Take Contour Stick. This is actually not my oldest highlighter though, so I'm going to be using a different highlighter, but before I go in with powder, I do want to apply this. I recently had to do a little surgery on this guy because I dropped it on the carpet, and I wanted to try to save it, so I just kind of sliced off the parts that had come in contact with the carpet. I'm actually just gonna draw this on directly right now. This weekend I have got to wash my brushes. But, oh, I forgot to say, but this contour stick I've had since August 2020. Man, I can't believe I already had this for almost 3 years. I don't feel like it's been that long. I do want to use this up this year as well, and I guess I've just made it a lot easier on myself now that I had to cut some of it off, but this is all that's left. That's as far as it twists up, so I do think I'm on track to finish the contour side this year. The highlighter, not so much. I don't really use the highlighter side of this very often anymore. So that's the only cream cheek product I'm going to use today. So my oldest powder right now is this one. This is almost done, and this is also one of only 2 powders that I currently have, but this is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. This one I've had since January 2022, so also not that long, but it's running really low. I'm definitely planning on repurchasing this when it runs out. It's pretty rare that I repurchase a makeup product. Most of the time even if I really liked something, I would rather try something new than repurchase the same makeup product again. But this powder is an exception to that because it is truly the best loose setting powder I've ever used. It is so good. Also, I really like it, especially on the under eyes. I like it so much more than any pressed powder on the under eyes because it just looks so smooth and it doesn't make my under eyes look dry. Even if I apply like a good bit of it, it just really smooths out my under eyes. Literally doesn't look like I'm wearing powder, but it sets my makeup really well, and I like that you can still see some of that glow peeking through. My oldest blush is actually part of a face palette. This is the ATHR Beauty Amber Cheek Palette. This is discontinued, as are many of my favorite ATHR products, but this is actually in my everyday makeup drawer. I've been wearing this a lot recently, and I have really fallen back in love with these blushes this month. I like to wear a combination of both of them, so I usually dip into the deeper shade first, and we'll kind of focus that in this outer part of my cheek. Then I dip into the lighter shade, and that one I blend a little further in. Just the perfect spring and summer blush tones. I like that they're kind of peachy coral, but they're not orangey whatsoever. They have a much cooler undertone to them. Sometimes I feel like really orangey peachy blushes can look just a little bit too orange on me, but these are perfect. I just feel like they're so bright and youthful. I do also like the highlighter in here, but that's also not my oldest highlighter. This palette I've had since February 2021, so 2 years now. Not that old. So, see, a lot of my products really aren't that old, which I feel like tells me I'm doing a pretty good job keeping things from getting too old in my collection. Some of these, like when we get to the eyeshadows, though, I do have some really old eyeshadows. That's like the one category where I do keep a lot of older stuff. Moving on to highlighter now. My oldest highlighter is the ColourPop Super Shock Highlight in Monster. This is another one I've had for the longest time. And for a while there, I really wasn't using it. But earlier this year, I really got back into this highlighter. Really unique. Like, it's a duochrome. And I like it because it looks a lot more subtle on my cheeks than a lot of my other highlighters. Oh, I forgot. I forgot that I like to use this with a brush and not my fingers. When I apply it with my fingers, I do feel like it can lift up my blush a little bit, but when I use a brush, it works better. So let me reapply a little more blush to fix that. So I'm just going to take this is the Sigma F03, it's a little highlighter brush from them, and I just kind of swirl the brush in there. It's like a cream to powder sort of texture, and then I will just dab it on to my cheeks. I'm going to be kind of careful with it over here since I don't want to draw attention to this blemish. Yeah, really fun pink highlight. Definitely don't have anything else like that in my collection. If you aren't already keeping track of when you purchased your makeup, I highly recommend doing it because it really helps me, I mean, not only just keep track of how old things are getting and what might be expired, but also it helps me know like what products I probably should prioritize either trying to use up or maybe decluttering if they've gotten too old. I try to use things up before they get too old, or you know, pass them on if I'm not going to be able to use them. I just keep my makeup inventory in a spreadsheet. I know there are also, you could also just use like a note on your phone, or I've also heard of people putting like a little piece of washi tape on the back of products to label the date that they brought it in. That's another good idea. Or I've also heard there are apps you can use for it too. So my oldest brow product, no surprise here, is the ABH Dip Brow Pomade. This I've had since December 2019. I don't know if I will ever be able to use this up, but this actually is in my project pan right now. I went a while without using it, but I've been getting back into it. Today I'm just going to use this by itself. I haven't done that in a while, but I used to just use this in my brows and nothing else, so I feel like this will just be a nice blast from the past. Lately I've just been a little bit more into like a less structured brow, and I really prefer just doing a brow gel and then applying like a little bit of this or a little bit of a brow pen. But this on its own I feel like it's just a little bit too, almost like too pigmented for me, but I still think that looks nice. So there's that. I don't know, just not my favorite brow look anymore. I feel like this one turned out kind of weird. I think I just prefer this more for like spot filling in now. It's still not a bad product. I mean, it's amazing to me that this is still going strong. Like, it's still very creamy and, you know, hasn't dried out or anything. Like, I feel like it still works just as well as it did the day I opened it. So really impressive just for that reason alone. If you want a good value brow product, it's, you know, it's more expensive than a lot of brow products up front. It's like $22, I think, but it will last you forever. Even if you use it every single day, it'll last you at least 3 years. So moving into eyeshadow, this right here is the oldest product in my collection. This I got in March 2018, over 5 years ago, and it's this little single shadow from MakeupGeek, which no longer exists. This is their foiled shadow in Grandstand, in the old round packaging. This is a really pretty shadow. Like, it still feels very creamy, very usable. I would describe this shade as almost like a cross between a taupe and a rose gold. It's really pretty, so I'm excited to use that. I don't use that often enough, but I want to use it with my oldest palette. This I got in April 2018, so just shortly after that shadow, and this is the Anastasia Soft Glam palette. I can't believe that I've had this for so long. It doesn't really look that well used. I mean, I do have 3 pans in it, but I feel like I should have more pans in here by now. I would like to try to hit some more pans in this palette, but I think this MakeupGeek Single will go nicely with this palette. I don't feel like, yeah, there's really not a shade quite like Grandstand in the palette, so those will be really pretty together. I also wanted to use my oldest eyeshadow stick just to mix things up a little bit because this is a fun color. This is the Urban Decay eyeshadow stick in the shade Fishbowl. I think this will make a fun lower liner, like a pop of blue on the lower lash line, and I'll do just like a neutral brown eye look. We'll see how that goes. I also wanted to try to use my oldest eyeliner, which is also blue, but a different shade of blue. This is the Urban Decay 24/7 eye pencil in Roxy. This eyeliner pencil I've had since September 2020. The eyeshadow stick I've had since August 2021. So neither one is like terribly old. I guess this eyeliner is kind of old, but I kind of want to see if I can incorporate these into today's look somehow. So first thing I'm going to do to start off the look is just set my eyeshadow primer with the shade Tempera. Mainly just setting from the crease up. I'm not really worried about setting the lid. But then I'm going to go into this medium brown shade Rustic. That's going to be my crease color. It's really the most neutral brown in here. I feel like these are a little warmer than I would like to go today, so I'm just going to start with this one in the crease. Just lightly buffing that into the crease. Then I'm going to take some of this deeper brown Cypress Umber and really just apply that above the upper lash line here in the outer corner. And I'm also bringing it up to meet that Rustic shade. So now that I've got that laid down, I'm going to go back to that first crease brush I was using and just blend out the edges. Alright, so MakeupGeek Grandstand, I'm just going to apply this with my finger all over the lid. Right, that is such a pretty shade. This also makes a great one and done eyeshadow. Alright, I do want to dip back into Soft Glam. I'm going to take some of Bronze here, this shade, really intense gold color, and I'm just going to tap a little of that here in the center of my lid, really keeping it close to the lash line. Just going to pick up a little bit more Grandstand and tap that here in this inner third of my eye. Yeah, that's pretty. I really like the way that rose gold fades into the gold. It really creates a nice dimension there. So, I mean, I guess I don't have to use both of these, but I kind of wanted to challenge myself to try these out. Like, how would this look? I don't feel like this would look too bad because rose gold and gold complement blue really well. Like, those are colors that they recommend people with blue eyes to wear. So I think, I mean, it's worth a try. Let's just go for it. Take this across my lower lash line. I feel like it kind of works. I've always liked the way like peachy golden tones look with a blue shade like this. So I could have also put this in my inner corner, I guess, but I wanted to try it across the lower lash line. I think that's pretty. Alright, I'm going to take this little smudge brush and just blend that a little bit. And I guess I was thinking for this Urban Decay liner in Roxy, I was thinking I could try this in my lower waterline, and then we could have kind of like a two-tone blue situation. Let's just go for it. I really don't like putting liners in my waterline, to be honest with you. It's very difficult. I feel like it got in my lashes, and I'm gonna go back to Fishbowl. It's a funny sentence. And add a little more of that. I feel like it got kind of covered up by the other blue. This is getting weird. I'm gonna use some of Fairy, this light gold, in my inner corner. Yeah, I'll be honest, I think we would have been better off without this Roxy eyeliner, but I just thought it would be fun to challenge myself to use it. I feel like a little crazy right now. But let's hope that mascara fixes all my problems, as always. So this is the only mascara that I have open right now. It's the Tarte Maneater mascara. It's not very old because I just opened it earlier this month, but this is what we're using. I'm also just not used to having that much eyeliner on my lower lash line. It's a little bit heavier than I normally like to do my lower lash line. I got a little mascara up on the lid. I'm going to let that dry before I flick it off. But let me go ahead and do the lips. So actually the oldest lip products in my collection are these two, which are actually also both in my project pan right now because I'm trying to use them up. But we have the Mented Peach Lip Pencil. This I got in February 2021. And then my oldest lipstick is actually this lip crayon from Burt's Bees, the gloss lip crayon in the shade Santorini Sunrise. This was actually decluttered to me by my friend Sharon, who said that she got it in July 2019. So I think a peach lip will go well with this look. Luckily, my oldest lip product is not like a bright red or something. I think that would be maybe a little too bold for this already very bold eye look. Actually, I also should use my oldest lip gloss, shouldn't I? Actually goes well with these other two. This is the Urban Decay Plumping Shine Balm in My Dude. This is really like a sheer coral. Alright, and then the Burt's Bees crayon. I'm just gonna put that kind of in the center here. Before I go in with lip gloss, I actually should have done this before mascara too, but I wanted to use my oldest setting spray. This is the Urban Decay All Nighter. This I got in November of 2021, and I really don't use this that often. Normally I just kind of save it for special occasions because it's meant for like just keeping your makeup locked in for a long time, and I don't really feel like I need that intense of a setting spray most of the time, but it is a really good setting spray. Feels refreshing. Has a nice mister too. Finally, this lip gloss. Really pretty gloss color. Yeah, so that's my oldest lip gloss. Really pretty, actually. I don't wear this often enough. This, once I finish up my Tower 28 lip gloss that I'm working on now, this will be the next one that I try to pan. I don't know if I will be able to do that this year because it's very full currently, even though I've had it for so long. Yeah, I don't know why I don't wear this more often, but I really like the reddish coral tint that it gives my lips. So that was really fun, you guys. Those are all of my oldest products on my face all at once. They all performed great. Most of these things weren't terribly old. Mainly the eyeshadows were the oldest things, and for me, eyeshadows, I don't really consider them expired unless the way that they perform has changed, and really with both of these, I feel like they still perform really well. I'm definitely going to have to reach for this MakeupGeek Single more often. I think I want to put this in my project pan soon and have this be one of the next eyeshadows that I try and hit pan on because it is beautiful, like a great everyday shadow. Really like that. I do feel like this eyeliner situation is a little bit heavier than I normally would prefer, but it was fun to just try out a crazy combination. And also, I feel like the thing that I'm most happy with in this look is the base combo. The Urban Decay Hydromaniac and the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer. That combo, I don't know if I had realized, but that makes a really nice combo. Just a great, like, smooth, glassy skin kind of look. Really happy with that. Leave a comment down below if you know what is the oldest product in your makeup collection. I would love to hear. But thank you all so much for hanging out today. I hope you had fun. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. I do also have a Patreon and a channel membership if you would like to support my channel further. Otherwise, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you again very soon in my next video. Bye.